the biggest story going around in WA right now is all about Bryce. What can you tell us? I'm flabbergasted by all of this. And you know what? I might get myself in trouble here because we're a transitioning part owner of this organisation, transitioning out. Obviously, we don't have much to do with it anymore. This is the greatest mismanagement I've seen in the world, in the Australia's best player, the Perth Wildcats' best ever player, and that's saying something against some cracking names. I'm staggered that this has been handled this way, Goss. What can you tell me?
I've had a fair bit to say, and I don't think all of what I said was probably correct in regards to the build-up, because there's obviously two sides to every story, but I do think it's a sad time. It's a dark time.
It's so sad.
Yeah. It's a dark time.
It didn't have to be.
No. Look, I'm hearing reports that he wanted to stay at Perth. He's taken less to go to Adelaide. Obviously, there was an intervention, so to speak, from God to sort of suggest that Australia was going to be his home and that's where he needed to stay. He was seeking free agency and looking elsewhere. Is there any reason, someone could ask Bryce, why didn't he end up in Asia? Was it because God said you had to play in Australia? And once God had said you need to stay in Australia, did he pick up the phone or his people pick up the phone and ring the Wildcats and say, hey, I want to stay? There's still a spot on their list.
Well, they gave him a deadline, though. They said, no, we need to know by.
Well, they're saying they gave him several deadlines. And he's saying their last deadline was too hard to...
And
trying to get Mark Arena on, and he's refused every media interview.
Why is that?
He spoke to the NBL.
Yeah, he did a really soft, favourable podcast where he was never going to be asked any tough questions whatsoever, and didn't get asked any tough questions whatsoever. Now that's weak in my eyes, mate. And get up and face your fans because they're in uproar right now. This is It's a great organisation. The Perth Wildcats, we have been blessed to barrack for them. This is a disaster. And when a fan takes over your club, then...
Paid good money for it.
He paid an enormous amount of money for it. And put that aside, he paid an enormous amount of money for it. No worries at all. But if you can't run it, if you can't keep the best player the club's ever seen, and you want to play hardball with the best player, is there any element at all that they actually wanted him out?
You have to ask Danny Mills, who
I'd like to.
Who builds the team, and Mark Arena, who pays the bills. John Rillie just coaches. I mean, I'm sure John Rillie has input in regards to who he has, but I don't think you'd ask John Rillie, do you want Bryce Cotton playing in your team? One thing I did like about the Easy Day podcast yesterday, the Easy Day Show podcast, which Bryce Cotton spoke on, it's his podcast with Devondrick Walker, who's a good mate, and he's overseas at the moment, Bryce, and Devondrick's here in Perth, there was some genuine public love for John Rillie, basically saying and dispelling publicly, and I'm not calling Bryce Cotton the lying king, I'm calling him truthful. Everything I think he says is basically true, that he and JR were always on good terms. I want to play something.
And I love that because we sit there and listen to JR, and I look at JR and I love talking to him about life and then also about sport and teams. I love that. And I look at him and go, geez, you're a bloke I want to play with. But before Bryce has said all this, there's some serious heat on JR, and there were rubbish stories going around that either lost players or he didn't have a relationship with players and that sort of jazz. I think this has been put to bed completely.
I'm happy that there's no beef between, me and JR. Like it's all love. We spoke after the decision with Adelaide was made as well, and everything's all good. So shout out to JR. It's a big credit to JR as well that we linked that, even though we weren't able to come up with a championship, I'm happy we were able to get to a point to where we can really gel as a team. And he also helped be a part of my best season so far.
A lot of people come for JR Head, bro, and just coming in as
it ain't
a
got
first
nothing to do with
time.
him. Another thing, why I'm always going to have nothing but love for JR is because I'm a reciprocative person. So I feel like the energy you give me, I'm going to give it back, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. JR ain't never done nothing but, try to show love and be who he is. And not last season, but the season before, when I was in that crazy 7-game slump to start the season, where I was playing crazy, in the meeting, JR had said with the team, don't worry about basically what you're going through at the moment. I know the player you are, and I believe in you. We need you. And he said, I'm either going to the mountaintop with Bryce Cotton, or I'm gonna be buried in the dirt with Bryce Cotton. And he let me know, like, he rocking with me no matter what.
Shout out JR, man. Make sure you clip that, Ben, because my boy needs his love, bro. If nobody giving it to him, we gonna give it to him on here.
13 12 55 is the number. If you have an opinion on Bryce Cotton and what you've heard yesterday on that podcast, and we're about to play a little bit more about the actual process of where Bryce Cotton felt he was pressured to make a decision and he decided not to re-sign, and the Wildcats moving on. So he's basically saying the Wildcats sacked him. In simple terms, they sacked him.
Well, they made the call.
They made the call.
Which is just staggering. Like, it's staggering that you could possibly push someone, your best player, into a corner like that and not have the patience to understand. Now, then, they said, we've got to sign Doolittle and we've got to sign Windler. You've already got them. You've already got them.
You don't build your empire around those blokes. You build your empire around Bryce Cotton. You wait for as long as it takes. Now, so Mark Arena, he spoke on the NBL website. This is how he put it all into place, that he felt these were the reasons why the Perth Wildcats had to part company with Bryce Cotton because they couldn't get the signature.
Unfortunately, it's one of those years when we have over 2/3 of our roster out of contract. And, that's a massive thing. And unfortunately, that's because, the NBL, for all the teams, we're only allowed maximum 3-year contracts. The reality is any team that has Bryce on it will look different to a team without. And our roster is no exception. And, we felt we certainly gave Bryce as much time as we could. And I think we probably would have been able to give more time if we didn't have so many players out of contract. But, ultimately, our role is to build a team that can win a championship. And we felt, even now still feel that we had to move on and start building that team and that roster. And, massive decision, horrible decision we had to make, which was wait longer and risk the whole squad and our success, or, make the hard call and kind of move on and build a roster with plenty of time to do that can win a championship. Because ultimately that's what I'm here for, is to try and build a team that can win a championship.
So my attitude to that, so this is the bit that I don't quite understand, and this is why I would love Mark Arena to come on, or Danny Mills. I just think it's important, and it's all very well to hide behind the NBL website, but ask some questions that I think the fans want answers to, and this is a perfect vehicle to do that, this radio station. So if Mark or anyone from the Wildcats listening, we'd love you to come on. Please get in touch with Chris Clafunis, our producer, or myself, or Scotty, or whoever that may be. For me, you're building your empire around Bryce Cotton. Now, so you're telling me that Christian Doolittle, Dylan Windler, whoever else is signing, you're going, oh, look, we're not sure. Wouldn't you just say, we're not sure what Bryce is doing, but it is our intention that we're trying to keep him, but he is seeking free agency. He's having a look overseas. He's having a look wherever that may be. But if they had to move on Bryce Cotton, why haven't they named a replacement? Why is Bryce Cotton in Adelaide, and Wildcats have still got a spot on their roster if Adelaide are paying less for Bryce Cotton than what the Wildcats offered? So has Bryce just turned around and gone, you know what, get stuffed?
There's so many. There's probably 3 things on that, right? First of all, do you reckon Christian Doolittle and Dylan Windler would prefer to have Bryce in their team?
I think so.
You think so? Secondly, like if you're pushing Bryce, you have to have a replacement for him. If you're pushing him and saying, well, we need to know from you now
because we might miss Michael Jordan waiting to come over.
Yeah, well, the big one is Paddy Mills.
I'll take it to the bank. He's not going. Take it to the bank. Unless there has been a backflip in the back office, the Perth Wildcats are not even close. As much as yesterday on this website, Mark Arena said, wouldn't we all be talking to Paddy Mills? Every club would be keen on Paddy Mills if he wants to come, blue, blah, blue. He ain't even on their radar. He's not even coming. In fact, rule a line through the conversation.
Is that his decision, or they don't?
Just rule a line through it. Don't ask any more questions, and I won't tell you any lies.
Oh, okay. So there's more there. And thirdly, your job is to build a championship roster.
Or keep a championship roster together.
That's it. That's it. Like, but my job is to build a championship roster. But you know what I'm going to do? I like a challenge, so I'm going to get rid of the best player the game's ever seen.
Well, Pedro disagrees. So this is Pedro. I'm going to go to Josh in a moment. Give us a call, 13 12 55. Pedro, this is good. Pedro says, morning, boys. Bryce got 9 years, 3 championships, so we lost more than we won, including missing the finals for the first time. Shut down Bryce and no Wildcats. We now have a chance to become a whole team, not a one-player team. Both sides made a decision based on best interest. Time to move on, Pedro. That is a strong sentiment from a couple of other people. JJ says, will there be a retraction on the back page of the paper? Would the Bulls wait for Jordan to make a decision or rush him? You just wait, says Mike. Cotton was never going to leave Australia. Morning, Goss and Scotty. After hearing Bryce Cotton's side, I'm putting my hand up to say I got it wrong. After was there bad blood between he and John Rillie? Yeah, well, you've got to be careful which radio station you listen to, Lisa, because there's a lot of misconceptions out there by some radio stations who would like to think that there was a blue between JR and Bryce because they don't know who's bigger, Bryce or the Wildcats, unfortunately. What about the situation with Wildcats? Thank God, says Rhonda, the Eagles and the Dockers are not privately owned, and I mean that. Let's go to Josh he wants to talk about, he's in Karratha at the moment, he wants to talk about Bryce Cotton. G'day, Josh. Hey,
guys, how are you?
Oh, I'm angry. But Goss has been the voice of reason here today.
He has. And Scotty, former shout-out from a fellow Mazenod boy as well. So I just want to say good day, mate.
Josh,
how are you?
Quality unit you must be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Two of you with jobs.
I agree with I agree exactly with what you're saying. Look, for me, it's easy to look back because I don't think if Jack Bendit was alive today, this would be happening at all. So I think it's a huge fumble by the new ownership, and it's quite... It's sad, but it's also disgusting to see that but this has been allowed to happen because he is an absolute superstar and we should have done everything to retain him here.
Yeah, nice work by you, Josh. And I want to just take you back a little bit further. Again, I don't know this. I don't think it would have happened on the previous owner's watch either.
Oh, I'll guarantee you.
I
that's
don't.
The thing.
I think the previous owner would have done. Previous owner would have been big on keeping Bryce Cotton.
Well, that's obviously Hutchie's the centrepiece of the previous ownership as the CEO. But there's also, Richard Simkis would allow that happen. But there's also 5 directors of SEG, and 3 of them live here in Perth. Do you reckon any of them would have allowed it to happen? No, I can sit here right now and say it wouldn't happen. But if Bryce says the third piece of what we said before is if Bryce says I want to test free agency. No worries, mate, you go and test free agency. But you don't just sit there and go, oh, well, wait and see what he comes back with. You'd throw an offer at him and say, mate, you know what, test your free agency, but here's an offer for you. This is our offer for you, and we want you to stay so badly. And he goes, all right, well, I need a couple more days. All right, we'll give you a couple more days. Go back again and not just say, well, mate, we need a decision right now. We need a decision. Just say, Bryce, mate, we're all in on you. We want you to stay. We love you here. Our fans love you here. This city loves you. Keep selling it to him. Keep trying to get his signature, not give him an ultimatum.
If the Perth Wildcats, Danny Mills, Mark Arena, disagree with anything that we're saying, 13 12 55. We would love them to come on and tell us we're wrong. Because I don't think that the interview he did with the NBL website yesterday, I thought it was okay. It gave an overview.
Mate.
I know, but it gave an overview. I would like to ask a few more questions in regards to, and the simple one is I've got is if you're pressuring, and it might have come 3 or 4 times. So you get vibes of this went all year. He said, I want to test free agency. Then once the season's over, that's when things start to ramp up, right? So he's saying that the NBL Grand Final Series was still on and they were asking for an answer. That's basically what Bryce is saying. I'm about to play this grab. We're going to go to the break. We're going to play the minute 10 from the Easy Day podcast show yesterday. Basically, minute 10 of Bryce Cotton explaining the Wildcats parting ways with him. My view to all of this would be Bryce Cotton basically are the Perth Wildcats saying to us they had someone else in mind and they needed an answer from Bryce because the other 2 imports, Doolittle and Windler, are still on the roster, have re-signed.
Were there.
So there's a spot there for an import. Mm-hmm. Have they got a replacement?
And you know what? And that will shut us all up if they do. If
Correct.
They've got one locked away 100%. And a replacement, I will shut up.
I'd love to know.
Say, okay,
I'd just love to know.
But, geez, they're going to have to be really good to be better than Bryce.
Really? Better than Bryce? Mate, LeBron James could come to Perth he still wouldn't be better than me. This was
Junior
Bryce
or senior?
No, senior.
All right.
Senior. He's the best days are over. He's 45 now. Easy Day Show podcast yesterday. Bryce Cotton speaking to Devondrick Walker. Scotty and Goss, your calls 13 12 55 or your text 0487 736 736.
As much as people feel or say, why did I leave the Wildcats? I didn't technically leave. So the Wildcats parted ways with me because I wasn't willing to give an answer back in March. They were like, look, we need an answer. They sent an email. We need an answer within like the next 2 or 3 days, whether you're going to sign this extension or not. Mind you, at that point, I'm pretty sure the grand final is still going on. Melbourne playing Illawarra. So it's like, hold up. Y'all know I've been saying all year I want to test free agency. And like not being on no cocky or no arrogant shit, but like, bro, I just had one of the greatest seasons in NBL history, and I'm a free agent for the first time in forever. Like it couldn't have been better time. That's not to say, I'm out of here, but I'd be a fool to not see, like, let's just see what else is out here. They were like, well, we need an answer because you're an integral part of our roster. We build it around you. So if you're not going to be here, we need to know. If you guys feel like you want to move on, then, I understand. I said, but that's not enough time for me to make a decision. Like, I want to see everything that's out there.